You're live voice.
All right, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. Nobody can see you, baby. All right, we're trying to get situated here. Can you scroll through that or no? Okay. All right, so I'm manning the ship here. How's everybody doing? We got Crystal and Rigel and myself in the building. How y'all doing? Hello, hello. Hello there. What's happening? What's going on? What's going on? So I figured we would start the conversation today on a little discussion of when to know you are finished with a cut.
You have to stop. You have to scroll up a little bit. Otherwise, they'll just keep coming.
All right. So when it comes to a cut, actually, this is kind of relevant because I just got a question the other day. Somebody was using my spreadsheet and they plugged in their weight loss goal, which they said was like 60-something pounds. And because of that amount of weight over the length of time the spreadsheet was set, it was saying that they should lose like 5+ pounds a week, which is not a realistic weight loss expectation. So I told them, I'm like, hey, look, you should probably only plan on, losing a realistic amount of weight over that 90-day span so that you're not going to get discouraged. And then you can just transition through a cutting and building phase again. When it comes to sustainable weight loss, like you would do in a cut, you have two main goals. One is to burn as much body fat as possible. And the other is to maintain, I've got ink all over my fingers, so that's what that is. The other is to maintain as much lean muscle tissue as possible. Lean mass, specifically skeletal muscle tissue. Those are the two main physiological goals. You don't want to just lose weight at the expense of also losing muscle. There are a bunch of other goals from like a psychological and relational standpoint. Like you don't want your whole life to go down the drain because you're focusing on the cut. You want it to be sustainable for you. But two physiological goals: burn as much body fat as possible and maintain as much muscle tissue as possible. And to do both of those effectively, you need not be in a deficit for months and months and months and months and months on end without giving yourself any time back in a maintenance or surplus state, which is why I typically encourage people to go about it in such ways that you're not really trying to lose more than about 20, 30 pounds tops throughout the course of a cutting phase. If you have to lose 50+ pounds, you can do that in one go, but you're probably going to be at a much greater risk of losing lean muscle tissue along the way, which you want to avoid. Whereas if you're going about it and trying to lose about 20 pounds, you can do that in a way and over a course of time that doesn't really cost you much lean tissue, because you want to preserve that for multiple reasons. One, it's going to improve your composition, it's going to improve your metabolic rates, and you're going to just look better. You're going to have better shape, symmetry, and proportion. So you do want to maintain as much muscle tissue as possible. So if you have more than 20, 30 pounds to lose, probably makes sense to cut in a few different phases or rounds, so to speak. And then each time you do that, you'll put on a little bit of weight when you reverse that back out. But ideally, the weight that you put on will still not exceed what your starting weight was. So your starting and ending positions each time you go through these cutting and building phases improves, and your overall body composition and metabolic and caloric baseline improves. Hopefully that makes sense. So the overall topic here, how to know when you are needing to be near the end of a cut, is you run out of calories because you can't really go past a certain point in calories. Once you go down to that level of calories, you're probably going to have some adverse metabolic and hormonal side effects. So that's not going to be good. It's not going to be sustainable for you at that point. Like you're going to be in a binging, purging type mentality. So that's obviously not good. And you're going to start seeing a loss in muscle tissue. So if you start seeing any of those in tandem, then you're probably a good candidate for getting out of that cut cycle and transitioning back into a reverse diet / maintenance building phase. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Right now, Rigel's in a building phase. He's a chunky monkey. He has not done a cut. He probably shouldn't for a while. All right. Let's dive into some questions of y'all's. So feel free to throw in some questions on YouTube and Facebook here. I'm looking through Instagram. Nayfit says, I'm keto. What's up, Nayfit? That's awesome. From Boise, what's going on? We used to go to Coeur d'Alene all the time, not Boise, but Idaho nonetheless. I am type 1 diabetic and ketogenic. Very cool. I've had several clients over the years that have been type 1 diabetic. Sunny is in the building. What's up, Sunny? Actually, you're not in the building, but you were in the building. Teach us, Master. What's up? Do you incorporate diet breaks for clients? Great question. Um, Not really. I do incorporate ketogenic caloric refeeds, and if they are not really as disciplined or they've never done an extreme cut before and they need that from a psychological standpoint, then I can factor that ketogenic caloric refeed in, and that oftentimes helps flip the trigger for them to regain their senses, get re-engaged to what the overarching goal is, and then double down on that goal. And then, I mean, there's definitely a place for the strategic caloric refeeds, but I typically don't work them into the actual dieting mix, mostly because I want to maximize efficiency in getting to that composition. And I'm typically only dieting for 5 or 6 months tops, which is a long time. But if you're doing diet breaks, and Lane Norton wrote about this in his book too, you probably read it because I know you're a fan of Lane. But like if you're doing a diet breaks, for instance, and let's just for ease of simplicity and illustration's sake, let's say you have a 3 month cut. All right, I could reach my goal in 3 months, for instance. If every other week I offered a diet break in which I returned to maintenance, so went off on a diet break, had a week of maintenance, and then went back to the deficit the following week, it would basically take me twice as long. So what I could accomplish in 3 months, it would take me 6 months. I normally diet for 6 months, so if I did diet breaks, it would take me 12 months, so a year practically. And I wouldn't really want to be in that degree of tracking, manipulating things for the course of a year. I'd rather just be super strict for that 6 month span and then maximize the efficiency in reaching that goal and then go back to the reverse / building phase.
I will say I have one client that I do like a food freedom day, where she still stays keto. We've already hit her goal of weight loss, and so when she was reverse dieting, and now that she's kind of like in this maintaining / building phase, she has a food freedom day in which she just doesn't track her macros. She still stays keto, still eats really clean food. Sometimes that's the day that she'll want to go out to eat at a restaurant or something like that. But still staying on track with the types of foods, just a day where she doesn't specifically track, but she's also not one that's going to go crazy or like crazy binging or anything like that. And we just like keep an eye on what kinds of foods she's eating and stuff. So
yeah, if you've already reached your goal and you're kind of more so trying to maintain that same composition, you can have a little bit more flexibility with that for sure. Mike Rayburn says, "What's up, gang? What's up, man?" Cindy Molina, hey guys, I'm about to fall asleep, but just wanted to say hi. Rides was so cute. I definitely miss my keto people. Sending hugs from Switzerland. Hope you are doing wonderful, Cindy. We miss you. Joy 80, hi from Tennessee. Hey yo, what's up? RV there yet? Oh my word, Roger's so big already. Someone's bringing that boy up right.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
What do you think about keto drinks you can drink for ketones? What are they harmful? So keto drinks, there's a lot of different kinds of keto drinks right now. The main ones are the ketone salts. So it's basically a beta hydroxybutyrate bound to a mineral in the form of either sodium, potassium. Some of them use calcium, but it's basically a ketone salt. The problem with those is that there's not a whole lot of actual ketones in them. And for you to consume the amount of ketones that would be truly beneficial, you're probably going to reach a threshold from a mineral load standpoint. So like if you're consuming all that in sodium, potassium, or calcium, you're probably going to have some GI distress before you have enough of the ketones in there to benefit. Now, ketone esters, those aren't bound to a sodium, potassium, calcium. Those are much more potent, and there is some pretty compelling research about the efficacy of those. I use them more so from a cognitive benefit standpoint. Like I'll have them before a podcast and I just feel a little bit sharper. One of the main drinks that have been in circulation as of late is the 1,3-butanediol, which is like a ketone alcohol basically, but it's not ethanol based. Those, I'm not really sure what most efficacious use of those is. I see people using them for a variety of reasons. I don't really feel super different. It kind of has a relaxing effect. I've heard a lot of people say that. But I would never recommend to anybody to drink the ketone drink for the sake of like, optimizing fat loss, because that's not really what it's going to do. Question: in a weight loss phase, what's your thought on not capping fat for satiety, meaning keeping protein low, under 75, so I top off with fat for calories and satiation? Some days is over 200 grams. So I'm all about having a higher fat ratio relative to other macros in the context of a deficit, because I do feel there are some beneficial hormonal effects by having higher dietary fat when you're in a deficit and body fat is low. But keep in mind, fat has a higher caloric load than protein and carbohydrates. So if you are not paying any attention to your fat and you're in a deficit, you're trying to lose body fat, it's going to be really hard to eat intuitively without tracking that, because you're likely going to consume more fat than would be ideal for you to be in that caloric deficit.
Lisa, what are you talking about? Sorry, I did not hear the question. So the question that we went over was how to know when you need to end a cut. Tell us about cutting, please. Oh, I think that was earlier in the.
Hey, Kismet guys, my postman just brought my keto brick order. Whoop, whoop. That's awesome.
Hey, sending love. I am cutting. How much water should I cut 10 weeks out?
Consume. How much water should she consume?
I think I'm so good at saying cut now.
Should they consume? I can't tell who that is. Looks like a physique competitor based off of the picture there. Little big tiny pictures. Yeah, I would shoot for a gallon a day. Like if you're a physique competitor, you're working out, it's hot summertime right now, you're probably gonna need about a gallon a day. Don't cut water. So many competitors try and cut water, to super compensate and basically peak for the show, but that's not necessarily. You want to keep your muscles hydrated. The vast majority of your body is made up of water. And if you are dehydrated going into a show, you're going to look super flat, not super full. So don't try and cut water. Stay hydrated. Gallon a day minimum.
After reversing, when you cut, should it be a more drastic calorie cut? And do you have a guideline for how many calories to cut based on weight and maintenance calories?
After reversing, when you cut, should it be a more drastic calorie cut? No. So if you do a proper reverse diet, then you've effectively, I don't recommend going into a cut right after you get done with the reverse diet. So I'll cut for 6 months or reverse diet for 3 months, get back up to a maintenance intake, and then I'll spend the next 2 years as a surplus, slight surplus. Most people aren't going to spend that much time in a surplus before they cut again, but I would recommend a minimum of 6 months back at a surplus after the reverse diet phase. A good rule of thumb is to spend more time in a maintenance or surplus than you do in a deficit. So do not recommend going straight into a cut after the reverse. In fact, I've seen people do that, and it's actually harder for them to lean out. It's harder for them to maintain strength. It's just harder for them hormonally. It's just not as optimal. You keep skipping me. I've had this one open for a while. Did you just frown at me? You frown at me? Okay, Robert, when you come back down, can you come cook for us? I can cook, but Crystal's the main cook. What are we cooking tonight?
I already had all my food. What are you going to have? What does I am cutting mean?
Basically, that's just losing body fat, prioritizing fat loss. I'm 10 minutes late. Hi, Sykes family. What's up? What's up? You can watch the replay. We got the 10-minute replay. That was super fast. Just ordered 2 days ago in Arizona. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Let us know if they melted at all. We've been really hustling these cold packs, and I've heard nothing but good things about the cold packs and the bricks. Not nothing but good things, but mostly good things. So they seem to be working.
If you're trying to lose weight, drinking ketones isn't a good idea either, because there's still calories.
Yeah, I agree. Most of them, it depends what kind you get, but they definitely do have a caloric load. Like the one I've got in my fridge right now, I think it's 70 calories per serving. And some people have noticed a big satiating effect from them. So maybe they can have a 70-calorie drink, and then it'll be easier for them to avoid a 150-calorie snack. in which case it would be advantageous to do in a cutting phase. But I don't really notice any satiating effect from the ketone drinks personally. So I don't drink them for a fat loss perspective. All right.
Get you off here. You got one over there?
Yes. I'm still concerned about muscle loss during a deficit. I'm used to high protein during a deficit. May you explain that more? Is it because you're in ketosis that makes it okay? I'm phase 2 still. All right, so this is a pretty involved question, but protein is super important. I don't ever want people to like peg me as like anti-protein because that couldn't be farther from the truth. But the problem is a lot of competitors in traditional bodybuilding circles, they'll keep their fat incredibly low during a cut, and they'll keep their protein very, very high, like 300 plus grams, and their carbs will either be high or low depending on where they're at. The problem with that is that protein is not a great substrate for energy. And if their carbs are also low, they're just not really making good energy, which is going to make it harder to power through a demanding workout. And maintaining your strength and intensity and volume while training is probably the single best thing you could do in a deficit to preserve muscle tissue. So if you're able to continue training hard, and if you're in a ketogenic state and fat adapted, you're getting your energy from fat, so it stands to reason that you're going to want to have higher fat. That's also going to have a benefit from a hormonal standpoint. I've seen guys, competitors, literally cut out fish oil pills because they're trying to remove all dietary fat, and their hormones tank and testosterone tanks, and then they lose muscle tissue in that regard. So I'm not suggesting anybody, you don't avoid protein for the sake of avoiding protein. You have a limited amount of calories to work with while in a deficit. And I have found that it's more advantageous to protect that fat intake and then, get as much protein as you can optimize for within that caloric deficit, but within your caloric range, but really maximizing your performance and your energy levels and your hormones by keeping dietary fat relatively high. Hopefully that's not too confusing.
Do you weigh meats before or after cooking? We weigh meats before cooking.
Yeah, we weigh it before, but then we try to consume any of the drippings that get cooked out.
Go ahead.
I will take Crystal. You sound so much like Sykes. What was that one for?
I will take Crystal. You sound too much like Sykes.
This is a bricks are delicious. Elder brought one home months ago when y'all were down here.
This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's Mark Elder. I didn't even see the picture.
Okay, all right.
What's up, Mark? Marky Mark?
Yeah, you can take me. Too much like a Sykes.
I see Mark's picture. I don't know if this is Mark talking. Probably not. But let's see. Yeah, Elder brought one down months ago. I need to come see y'all here soon. I think I may actually be in town next weekend. That's the plan, right, Ben?
Mm-hmm. All right. Is there any way we can get in contact with you for some prep coaching? Yeah, just go to ketosavage.com and message Robert.
Yeah, so I do prep coaching, ketosavage.com. If you go to coaching, there's a coaching package there. I'm more than happy to work with you. I'd love to work with you, in fact. And then Crystal does coaching as well, but not prep coaching. Keto Chef Max, what's up? It's his wife. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Tell Mark I said howdy. I'm stuck in the bro mindset. Yeah, don't be stuck in the bro mindset. It's kind of weird. Like, there's a lot of people that you can get lean with a variety of diets. Like, there's not any one diet that is going to rule them all per se. Sustainability comes down to play. A lot of these factors are just dancing over here, coming into play here. But what I have found in the natural bodybuilding realm, because that's definitely going to dictate kind of where things go, natural versus enhanced bodybuilding. But if you're a natural athlete and you are fat adapted, I have found significantly more benefit from a muscle preservation standpoint following a ketogenic diet with relatively high dietary fat, moderate protein, and very low carbs, in the context of that macro distribution than I did when I was bro bodybuilding with super high protein, high carbs depending on where I'm at in the cut, and then really low fat. That's been my experience.
I tried the macadamia brick and it was delicious. And another person said, thank you so much.
Delicious. Come on, so you can live on that baby. I'm his wife, and I meet y'all years back at Christmas. Get together. Can't remember the name, but on cancel.
Yeah, that was forever ago. It felt like with those marks. I was actually in a prep then.
When was that?
2018 had to have been.
At Mark's house?
No, it was at a restaurant.
Oh wow, that's a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah, that's a long time. We were at like graffitis or something
Oh
like that.
yeah, something like that.
All right. Yes, I'm natural, so it makes sense, and I'm sure it's better for hormones. Yeah, I think you'll find it advantageous for sure. Well, come on, do keto for sure. We are more than happy to help. Any questions on IG that I'm missing over here? We caught up.
No, we got it.
We're caught up, y'all. All right. So if anybody's got any questions, throw them at us because Rigel is dancing up a storm. You know, normally he's getting a little feisty and fussy by the end of these lives, but he's good now. So we'll keep going as long as he keeps going.
You go, Dad.
Can we hold him?
Yeah.
All right. So if we don't have any questions, we'll just have to do something else. We have next week. We've already got the topic for next week. But before I do that, we got a question. Last question. I asked in group, but curious what you say. How long does it take to get fat adapted? I remember that question in the group. So you can be producing ketone bodies within like 12 hours probably of reducing your carbohydrate intake. And if you're producing ketone bodies and you are registering 0.5 millimolar or more on a blood ketone strip, congratulations, you are technically in ketosis. However, that is a big difference between being in ketosis and being fat adapted. When it comes to fat adaptation, from an athlete standpoint, I recommend giving it at least 6 months, kind of as a minimum. And the reason being is you are totally making a 360-degree shift in how your body is producing, deriving, and using energy from carbs and glucose to fat and ketones. You have to build up all these new metabolic pathways. You got to build up these monocarboxylic transporters, lots of things happening from a metabolic standpoint. And you got to give yourself at least a good 6 months to be able to compare apples to apples and see how your performance compares to what you were doing when you were eating carbs.
How is he sleeping lately? Rigel has always slept really well at night. He hasn't wanted to take a nap for a couple of days. Well, a couple of days he has not wanted to take a nap. But he sleeps really well at night. We've got really lucky with him.
What is the lowest safe amount of calories to get to on a cut while bodybuilding? I don't like taking my clients below 1,300 if they're female. I don't like taking my males below about 1,500.
How long of a bulking and what's the upper limit of body fat during bulk?
What's up, the bearded powerlifter? How you doing, man? I would say, like right now, I'm about 15% body fat. I don't think there's any benefit in me going more than 15% body fat. When I compete, I'm sub 5% body fat. For me to be able to lose 10% body fat in a course of 4 to 6 months, which is going to be about 20 pounds for me, that's doable. That's optimal. I think that's really, really good. If you are pushing the body fat beyond 20, then there's a point of diminishing returns. Like you want to be in a building phase, you want to be in a surplus, you want to have a little bit more weight on you, but you don't need to really go beyond 15, 20% body fat tops.
Can you talk about women?
For that question? Yeah. For women, I'd probably say take whatever the male version is and then increase it by like 5 or 7% probably.
Yeah, I would generally say for someone who is consistently competing, 22% is pretty safe. For someone who's not competing, 25% is totally a good range to be in.
I'm at 2,100 calories right now. Yeah, that's not too low. I don't know how long you've been dieting.
All right. Does your cutting protocol work for powerlifters wanting to still build muscle?
Yes, but keep in mind, you're not really going to optimize muscle building if you're in a deficit. Like to optimize muscle building, you're going to want to be in a surplus. To optimize fat loss, you're going to want to be in a deficit. So if you're trying to build muscle, then you're not really going to be prioritizing fat loss.
All this is Greek to me. Help, please, when y'all come down. Call elder when you're down.
Will do.
Also, I will say a lot of this is bodybuilding talk. So, but we have brought it into the everyday average person talk because it's important. I think a lot of people diet and diet and diet and diet and diet, and then they forget. Oh yeah, I have to actually eat, and I have to help my hormones, help my metabolism, help all of these other aspects of my life, and someone said, I don't remember who it was, doesn't matter, but someone said that these phrases, bulking and cutting, should not be brought into the average everyday community. And I disagree with that because I think that most of the time we're talking about dieting and we forget to mention that there is a reverse diet, there is an increase in calories. You need to have those resets and that maintenance period and things like that. So a lot of the way that we talk about it is very bodybuilding style.
We use bodybuilding lingo.
Yes,
but it applies
it's
to
for
everybody.
everyone. Yeah, so it might sound a little bit Greek because you don't hear it often, but I think you're hearing about it more and more these days, though.
Roger's just about done, so. You got any more questions over here? Our question for next week that we didn't answer this week is best macro ratios for mental health. Mental health or brain function or something like that.
We'll post it next week.
Yeah, we'll post it next week.
So, should we call it?
We should call it. All right, Rigel, say bye to the camera.
Woo-hoo. See ya.
All right, wouldn't want to be ya. See ya.
Bye, guys.